If you recently got a G80 M3 or a G82 M4, these are probably the only mods and the best mods you can put on your car. What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. So if you guys are new here, my name is Eamon. Behind me is my 2023 G80 M3 competition with xDrive. If you guys have been watching the channel, you'll know that I did a lot of stuff to this car and I might still have more for it, but that's not the point of today's video. What I want to focus on today, guys, is just letting you guys know what are some of the best mods you can do to a car like this. Maybe you just got your car and you want to do some stuff to it, but you want to do only like just good quality mods. Because I'll be honest with you guys, I did a lot to this car, some of which was not necessary. I do run a YouTube channel, so I do a lot just for content. But if you only want to do a few mods to your car just to really set it off, I'm gonna run you guys through what I think those mods should be. So we're gonna start this list off with a pretty standard one, and that is lowering your car. Unfortunately, these cars from the factory are like monster truck height. Although they're sports cars and they're an actual M car, for some reason BMW left a whole bunch of wheel gap. The rears aren't too bad, but the front especially is really bad, and you can't have any type of sports car that's just looking like a monster truck. That's just a standard thing for every car, but especially with the G80 M3. So personally, guys, I would highly recommend lowering these cars. If you want to do coilovers, if you want to do lowering springs, I did a video breaking out all the difference between them. Long story short, I'd recommend doing lowering springs, specifically AST or even H&R springs. By the way, if you guys want any of these mods, I'll leave a whole bunch of links down in the description below. But personally, guys, I would recommend lowering this car. That alone is going to make a huge difference. Again, some cars aren't too bad, but this car from factory, it looks pretty bad, especially the M4. I actually think the M3 isn't as bad, but the M4 is even worse. Not only is it going to make your car look better, but it will make it handle a little more like sporty as well. It's going to stiffen the ride just a bit, but it will maintain for the most part your factory ride quality. But again, it's just going to make it feel a little more sporty, a little more aggressive, it being a little more firm. Now, the next thing on my list has to do with the wheels. And believe it or not, guys, I don't think you should necessarily do wheels on this car. Now, don't get me wrong. I love my Apex wheels. I don't regret getting them. But I will say the stock wheels on these cars look absolutely amazing. Whether you have the comp wheels or even the non-comp wheels, they look really good. And it's not something that I think you have to change to really make this car look good. Now, I said in the video when I got these wheels, and I kind of admitted, I love the stock wheels. If it wasn't for YouTube and content purposes, I probably would have just left the stock wheels. So if you guys aren't in the same boat as me, you're probably fine leaving your stock wheels as well. But what I do think you should get are wheel spacers. So if you guys rock the OEM wheels on this car, you'll notice the wheels are very sunken in. I mean, these wheels are a little better. They could actually still use a bit of a spacer, but the stock wheels are really bad. So if you guys lower this car and you put like maybe 15 mil in the rear, the front you can do 15. I think it looks better, but they will rub. If you guys want to play a little more safe, you can do like 13 or 12, whatever increments the wheel spaces you're getting comes in. That way you definitely won't rub and also still look good. Again, I think the 15 looks better, but you will definitely rub. So when I first lowered this car, I did of course put spacers on it on the OEM wheels, and I ran 15 all around. So 15 in the rear, 15 in the front, and I thought the car looked absolutely amazing. It just really gave the car a amazing stance. Like, it just changed the car by itself. Lowering it and the wheel spacers, that alone completely transformed this car in my opinion. The wheel spacers are obviously cheaper, so are lowering springs, but lowering springs are a pain to install. Wheel spacers are super easy to install, and I'm telling you guys, it makes such a difference. A proper stance on a sports car goes a very long way. Now, the next mod on the list will solve my biggest complaint when I first bought this car, and that was the sound. This is such a fast and aggressive car. Honestly, I don't feel like you even have to tune it. Like, a tune is not even gonna make it on this list because honestly, guys, especially as a comp xDrive, this thing is plenty fast how it is. I don't feel like the average person will need any more power. However, the sound is a different story. My friends like to joke around. They like to say that this car sounded like a hybrid. Obviously an exaggeration, but this car did sound very, very quiet. I did run a few different exhaust setups, and I'll probably do a whole video about like comparing all of them. But I will say, guys, just in general, do an exhaust on this car. I know it's a standard thing, but this car, trust me, desperately needs it, because there's some cars that are just loud, but they don't perform all that well, or at least not amazingly. But this car, in my opinion, performs amazingly, but it's just really quiet, so it's a little weird. So if you do some type of exhaust setup on this car, it will just really waken it up, and it'll make the driving experience that much better. Now, like I said, I ran a few different exhaust setups. There's still a whole bunch more that you can run and try out. Personally, I landed on a big single mid pipe from Open Throttle, It eliminated 2 resonators and the secondary cats. It maintained the stock muffler. Oh, also I have a derailleur valve controller, which helps out a lot actually. And personally guys, I mean, long story short, that's my favorite exhaust setup. Now again, I didn't try all of them, but I have heard a lot. And just driving this car with that exhaust setup, I mean, one, it sounds really good. It sounds louder, but also like the tone itself is better. And then also maintaining the stock muffler with the valve controller gives you the ability to like quiet down the car or make it louder. So you kind of have the best of both worlds in a way. We're gonna jump inside the car. I'm actually gonna fire it up. Now this isn't a cold start. The car was running before. So, but regardless, it's kind of a cold start, not really. But just hear this, guys. Really good. I'll give it some revs in a bit here. Now that it's quiet down, what I'm saying guys is this maintains the valve system, and with the valve controller, what you can control with this, like check this out, I can close the valves or open them. So even when you're in comfort mode, because I know some of you guys will be like, well, you know, you can just put the car into sport, you know, open the valves, blah, blah, blah. Well, this car, even if you open up the valves, it doesn't open up all the way, all the time. This is just gonna open it up, you know, all the time. And again, here's the difference. Way more quiet, a little more character. Now, let's just give it a few revs. So let's open up the valve. And we're not even gonna put in sport mode, by the way, or, you know, M mode. We're just gonna leave it in comfort or efficient. Again, that was in comfort. So let's put it into M. Now you're gonna hear a little more burbles. It actually does sound a little more aggressive, but also has those burbles. Believe it or not, I actually prefer it in just comfort. I don't like the burbles. I've kind of grown past that in a way. But yeah, anyways guys, the point is, I personally love this exhaust setup, but there's a whole bunch that you can choose from. Shop around, listen to different exhaust clip sounds and all that. Again, you know, I'll probably try to make a video about that, but just in general, get an exhaust on this car. Stock, it sounds way too boring, it sounds way too quiet. This car, the way that it performs, it deserves a good sound. And now it finally has it. So the next item on my list, I'm actually gonna cheat a little bit because I was planning on leaving this later in the video. But since we're already inside the car, I'm just gonna talk about it now. The next item is a custom steering wheel. Now look guys, there's a whole bunch of different custom steering wheels you can get. Like you can get LED lights on them, carbon, all that. Personally, I like to keep my cars a little like more OEM plus. I mean, some might debate that, but the point is, I like the clean look. I don't like all the carbon. But if you guys have a pre-LCI especially, you have the pre-LCI steering wheel. On top of that, your steering wheel is kind of basic. You know, it's leather, it's really nice, but it's pretty basic. Like it's no different, or it's not very different from like an M340 or something like that. However, if you get a custom one, you guys can see just how much better the steering wheel looks. It's the LCI look, like I was trying to get to before. So you get that like skinny design over here. It's Alcantara all around, has a red racing stripe, has a flat bottom. And the, you know, the custom aspect of this is, one, it's supposed to mimic the LCI design, but also I did get it in Alcantara. Now you guys can kind of change this up. You can do leather if you want. You can do carbon up top or the bottom. You can do different things. You can do like a yellow racing stripe, which, you know, I kind of wish I did in a way. But the point is, a custom steering wheel, especially one like this, that's still classy, makes this car feel like a race car, in my opinion. Now, a steering wheel is something that you're constantly holding, constantly looking at. So it's a mod that you're really gonna feel and really kind of, you know, take full advantage of. Because some of those other mods, like, you don't really see or feel all the time. Like, sometimes you forget that they're there. Like, I have a spoiler on this car, I have a carbon diffuser. I forget about those mods all the time, and they're not cheap mods. So honestly, custom steering wheel is something you're gonna see and feel all the time. It's gonna change the experience of actually being and driving this car. There's some other stuff I wanna add to this list, like these Alcantara pieces. These are original M Performance pieces. This armrest, this knee pad. If you guys watch my videos, you'll know that I'm obsessed with this stuff. Alcantara all around the interior is amazing. However, this is arguably kind of forgettable. Like, you just kind of forget that it's there. Same thing with the, I mean, especially with the knee pads, honestly, not even the same thing. It's even worse with the knee pads. I forget about these all the time. But the steering wheel is something that you always see and always feel. So I can't really tell you guys that this is like a must mod. It's a nice one, and if you guys have extra, you know, stuff to do, I'd recommend it. But the steering wheel, that's a good one. Again, you're really gonna see it and feel it every single time you drive the car. You can't forget that you have it. So That's the reason why I'm gonna put it on this list. All right, so far we said lowering your car, preferably on lowering springs, getting wheel spacers, getting an exhaust, getting a custom steering wheel. Those mods alone are gonna change the experience of driving these cars drastically. Like, legit drastically. Like the look, the stance, the sound, the feel of the steering wheel. There's obviously a lot more mods that I want to include on this list, but you know, like I said, guys, I really want to include the ones that I think, like, you want to do the least amount of mods as possible but have the biggest impact. I think those are my top ones. Now there's still some mods I want to include on this list, some really good ones that I think you guys should do. Probably not the top of the list, but I still want to include it. Two of them being on the front end. So as you guys can tell, I have a Keys Motorsports carbon front grille. This grille transformed the front look of this car. This is a area of the car that a lot of people, you know, kind of love or hate. People hated the big grills. I think if you switch out to these aftermarket grills, the car just looks so much better. The original ones are plastic and look cheap. Like, it's not even the size of them that bothers me. It's just like the cheap aspect of them that bothers me. Like, they just don't look good. Like, they're matte plastic, they don't look great, but these carbon ones look so much better. If it wasn't obvious, these do mimic the CSL style, but obviously this is strictly aesthetic, and I know some people might actually prefer the original grills. That's why I'm not putting this at the top of my list. However, I would highly recommend this mod. Keys Motorsports makes a whole bunch of great carbon for this car. So like I said, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you guys can do. I have a front lip, I have the side skirts, which I really like, by the way, because it has this little wing here and it kind of gives the car a extra design element. We also have the winglets over here, the diffuser, like I said before, the spoiler. But again, those mods, I don't think should be at the top of your list per se. Like, I would highly recommend them still, but again, I want to keep this list like, you only want to get like 3-4 mods and you want to like transform your car. But I figured I'd still mention these mods because if you guys want some good ideas for aesthetic mods, I would highly recommend these. Out of all these carbon pieces, I think I would recommend the front grille and the front lip the most. This front lip is super aggressive, and honestly, this car from factory has a very bubbly look at the front. Like, it kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It looks like a bubble, but this front lip just adds that extra aggression. Also added with those little canards, which, you know, are really cool too. So if you guys wanted to do any aesthetic mods, again, I would highly recommend doing the grille first and then maybe a front lip second. I'm actually gonna do a full mod breakout video pretty soon, but you know, again, I just wanted to make this video to kind of help you guys out. If you just got one of these cars and you really want to know where to start off, like what's the best mods to really start off with, disregarding price, disregarding all that. If you guys are, you know, concerned about price and installation, I made a video about the easiest mods. Some things might cross over, like the wheel spacers, but this mod, I'm trying to disregard price and literally just like, what's the best mods you can really put on a G80 M3 or G82 M4 and genuinely make your car better. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any other suggestions of mods to include on this list, drop them in the comments below. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, drop it a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And with that said, this video is pretty much done, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.